Hi, welcome to the Big Bear Homestead. Today is episode number 15 in our Predator Control on the Homestead series. So today, we're talking about otters. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the otter. Now, what is an otter? Well, an otter is a semi-aquatic mammal, just like the beaver. The otter is related to the weasel, and he's strictly carnivorous. But what makes an otter a predator? All right, so to be able to answer that question, what makes an otter a predator, we first have to understand the otter's diet. Now, an otter's diet consists of fish, amphibians, mussels, small birds, and the otter's appetite is so enormous that within a few weeks, if you have a medium-sized pond, let's just say 3-acre pond, 2-acre pond, a single otter could eliminate your fish population within a couple of weeks. So anything that, as a homesteader, we're trying to raise baby chickens, quail, ducklings, fish, your aquaponic systems, all of those are in danger when an otter is in the neighborhood. So, now that we're understanding what the otter eats, how can we tell if it's an otter that's our problem? All right, so how do we know if we've got an otter or otters? Well, unlike a lot of the other predators that we've talked about in this series, you stand a really good chance of seeing an otter. Otters are extremely playful. They'll play tag with each other up on land. They'll splash, kid around, and play like kids in the water. They'll constantly play. They'll wrestle. They'll do all kinds of things. So that's one sign. The other, just right off the bat, number one, no doubt in your mind, other than seeing them, the best way to tell if you have otters is when you walk around your waterway, whether it's your pond or your creek, you will find their toilet. Otters are one of the few animals that will continue to go back to the same spot to defecate. And how you'll know it's otter feces, well, one, it'll look like this, and you'll see scales, bones, stuff like that from what they've ingested in their feces. And there'll be a bunch of it around. Another good sign is a slide. Looks just like a beaver. So if you've got beavers, here's a side note. If you've got beavers, more than likely you have otters coming to visit, because otters will also eat newborn baby beavers. So they'll use the same slides. So if you had beavers at one time and now you think an otter has moved in, all your slides, look at the bottom of the slides. Are they wet again? Does it look like there's new activity on the slide? That's a good sign. They'll use the same crossovers on a beaver dam. Does it look like there's more activity there if you haven't busted it up? Another good tattletale sign is if you're lucky to find in some mud or sand or snow is otter tracks. And otter tracks look like this. Now those are pretty much the best tattletale signs to know if you've got otter. If you've seen all of the above or one of the above and now you know you got otters, so what's your next step? All right, so now we know we got otters. So what are you going to do about it? Well, otters, just like beavers, just like coyotes and bobcats and stuff, there's not really a good deterrent out there for them. Matter of fact, I don't even know of one. So you go straight to the steel. Get the traps out and start setting them. Now, here is where the otter will be different from the beaver. You can set your 330, it's the same traps. Let me back up for a second. Same traps that you use for the beaver, you're going to use for the otter, but you're going to just set them differently. That means the 330 conibear, the 220 conibear, the Bridger number 5, the Duke number 4, all those large foothold traps you can use the double long spring number 4s, whether it's Duke, Victor, Bridger, any of those. You can use all of those for the otter just like you do for the beaver. But there's a different strategy when it comes to setting up the traps, especially your body gripping traps. If you're setting them at the end of the slides, you set them just like you do a beaver. If you're setting them on the crossover, just like you do a beaver. But if you're gonna try to set them and make a dive set like you would for a beaver, to where the otter is swimming, you need to double them up. That means you gotta have a trap here and a trap here. Why? An otter is like a bullet in the water. Remember, a big portion of his diet is fish. So he has to be fast in order to catch his prey. And I myself have fallen victim to a fast otter that has swam right through a 330 conibear. Set it off the whole nine. He was just all the way gone by the time that trap spun around. So there's just different techniques that where if you double it up, because when he hits the first one, it slows him down just enough that the second one will catch him. Set your footholds the same way you do with a beef. Now that you know what traps to use, briefly how to set those traps, what are you going to do if you catch an otter? All right, so you caught an otter. What are you going to do with it? Well, if you're not experienced at skinning the otter, then I would definitely try to reach out, find a trapper in your area that may come over and help teach you how to skin it, or he may pay you for it. You never know. Because otter pelts are at a premium. Now this is I'm only saying this if you catch the otter during the winter time. If you have the problem with it and you caught it during the spring, summer months, fall time frame, he doesn't really have a prime pelt on him. So it might be a good time to just practice skinning him then and putting him up, so that way when the winter comes around, if you get another one, you can do better with that. Because the otter pelt is bringing in halfway decent money. I think the only things that are bringing in more money than the otter right now is your lynx coming out of Canada and maybe Alaska if they've got it. It's somewhere up there. And your the West Coast bobcat, that's because of the coloring and stuff, is bringing in decent money also. So you really want to be careful when you're handling your otter with his good winter coat on there. I don't know of any recipes on eating the otter, so you would definitely just want to go ahead and feed him to your black soldier flies or any other flesh-eating insects that you may be raising to benefit your chickens. If not, then I would just go ahead and throw him in the compost or just completely bury him in your garden, so that way he can decompose in there and his bones can also help bring back the calcium into your garden. Try to get rid of that bottom end rot with tomatoes. All right, well that does it for this video on predator control in the homestead. But it kind of also ends the predator control on the homestead series for a little bit, kind of like a pause button. I want you guys to think about, over the last couple of months, we've talked about predators that you can trap. The only ones that we talked about that we couldn't trap were the raptors. Your hawks, owls, eagles, those. Everybody else you can pretty much set a trap for. So we've learned the biology for raccoons, possums, beavers, canines, bobcats, otters, muskrats, all those guys, and then some. What we're going to do now that we know our enemy, we're going to change gears here with predator control in the homestead, and we're going to take the traps that we've talked about, and we're going to show you guys step by step on how to set the coon cuff, how to set the 330, the 220, the 110, all those different traps. We're going to show you how to set it on the slide or on a game trail or at a pinch point. We're going to show you how to make the dirt hole, the flat set, all those different sets. The video will still come out every Tuesday, roughly about the same time, between 7 and 8. So that way you can now, you've armed yourself with the biology. Now we're going to be able to arm you with the tool that you need in order to get rid of this predator that's on your homestead. So I hope you guys are really looking forward to it. Well, that does it for this week. Next week, we will see you guys back here on Tuesday, and this time we're going to be talking about the coon cuff. Thanks for coming by the Big Bear Homestead, and like always, have a nice day. Yes, and that's right. Today's episode is all about the otter. And you, my friend, can have an otter in your pond for 3 easy payments of $29.95. But wait, there's more. Not only is an otter strictly a carnivorous animal, he's a little bit like the beaver, where he's semi-aquatic. But if that's not enough, these otters that you can get for these low payments of $29.95, these otters are related to the weasel. All right, so how can you tell if you've got otters? Well, you...